So my name is Sean Kopelke, and I have the privilege of looking after all the architecture, strategy and technology people within VMware Australia and New Zealand. And within that group, we spend probably the large majority of our time working with customers and working with organizations to understand where they are today and what's their future state architecture look like, where they want to be, right? And then our job is to sort of, as our organization, is understand what role do we play in that, if we do, and then sort of build on that with them over time as well. So we spend a lot of time with our customers talking around how are they modernizing their applications, how are they modernizing their infrastructure and their processes and their organization as a whole, and helping build that out. So what I wanted to use today's session is actually to take all the really clever ideas that everyone else has had and not claim them as my own, but just bring them together into sort of 3 key learnings that we get from the field from our customers that have helped them be successful in their modernization, right, inside their organizations. And most of them aren't complete, almost none of them are, they're all on that journey. But this is sort of bringing all the ideas and thoughts down and try to categorize them into sort of 3 key areas to lay that down. But before I go forward, I just wanted to put this quote up here because I actually really like it. It was from a McKinsey report that I was reading a couple of months ago. And it was sort of a bunch of research from different CIOs, but one of the CIOs' comments was, I'm more concerned about not being bold enough than being too cautious, right? And I like that because what we're finding with a lot of organizations that we're working with is that struggle to get the business to be ambitious with change, right? And a lot of the modernization that they're doing within those businesses actually require a lot of change for the people on the ground inside those organizations. And I'm going to spend a little bit of time today talking about your IT staff and the mindsets of what we're hearing from organizations to help make them successful, and therefore you're successful, therefore your customers successful. So we'll talk a little bit about that. But people struggle with change, right? And when you talk about how we're going to do something different, I'm guarantee you, and most of you probably know this, the first thing that's going through their head is, what does this mean for me? What's the security of my future? What's the security of my role? So being able to manage that change control and being bold and ambitious while taking people along the journey is really important. So I'll talk about some of the little lessons learned as we go through this to manage that as well. But just for a couple of minutes, I actually want to just take probably 2 minutes to talk about VMware's modernization journey, right? Because most people know VMware, pretty much everyone knows VMware. We've been around 20 odd years. I can't remember the exact number of years, I should. But we started 20 odd years ago as an organization that was 100% focused on virtualization. And we led the market, we did some amazing things in those spaces. VMware is very much a innovative and engineering-led organization. And we drove that. But then sort of 10, 15 years ago, we sort of realized that the market had changed significantly from just the need of virtualization to the whole software-defined concept as a whole, right? So we reinvented ourselves and modernized ourselves to focus on the private cloud, the software-defined, basically everything within the infrastructure environment as our area of expertise, and built out and became a valuable partner to most of you in this room here around mission-critical applications. But over the last number of years, we've sort of realized there's that journey out of the data center that we're in today. And we're not forgetting that the data center still is important for many of you, right? There's that technical debt that we've got to make sure that we manage through, but the move into the cloud. So we've spent the last 4 or 5 years really understanding what is the new need for our customers that maps to our capabilities and expertise, and then repivot as an organization to focus on that. So everything that VMware does today is around helping organizations build modern applications into the cloud environments, right? And give them the agility and flexibility that they need to do that across multiple hyperscalers environments. So that's where we are today, and that's how we've modernized as an organization as well. And in fact, the majority of all our business and revenue, and I think we've got nearly 600-700 people here in Australia and New Zealand, are all focused on that modernization of applications and cloud, multi-cloud environments. And a smaller part of our business now is still in the data center space, but we still focus on that as well. So just to give you a little bit of insights there around where VMware is going as an organization so you understand that. So let's jump into some of the lessons learned in the field as well from our customers over the last couple of years. And we've tried to categorize this down to a few things. And what I'm going to step through is what are the key themes that the CIOs and CTOs that we're dealing with have shared back to us for what's worked, and if they went back to the start again, how would they rethink and reset a few things in their environment to make it more successful? And if we took all the feedback that we got from everyone and brought it together, and then when we go into new engagements, we sort of focus around these things, there's sort of 3 areas that would summarize their cloud transformation and their modernization journey from infrastructure and application side of things. And we break that down to a customer-focused modernization, and that sounds obvious, right? We should be thinking of the customer, but I'll explain a little bit more exactly what we mean by that as we dig into that. But mastering the concept of cloud economics, right? So many organizations understand this at the start and then lose sight of it during the projects, right? And nearly everything that is around the economics of cloud, let's be honest, it's 101. We all know it. It's common knowledge, but we just don't drive it as common practice when we lead everything through our business. So we'll just touch on that a little bit as well. And it talks about, and I know Matt and the team and Peter have all been talking about measuring value. It's just an extremely difficult thing to do. And we had a whole session with Matt and Peter was on, and with our CEO and a number of customers here actually, a virtual conference for a couple of hours talking about how do we actually really measure value. And what we found is CIOs actually struggle with that, but that's okay, so do we. It's a very difficult thing to do, right? So part of the modernization journey needs to have a foundation around what the cloud economics are and not losing sight of that, right? And then the last part is consistency of experience. And when I talk about consistency experience and I listen to our customers, they're actually talking about consistency of experience for the employees. Right? So when you look at modernization, you've got to understand what is the experience that the people who are leading that for you internally are going through, and then are you delivering that? Now, most of you hire staff, or many of you do, and one experience I have, and we hire a lot of staff. I think we have 78 open headcounts at the moment. It's challenging to get and find talent and bring it into the organization. But I can tell you, especially in the younger generation, how much we're going to pay them is not 1, 2, or 3 on the board, right? So what we actually find is that drive around what are the toolings, what's the environment, how do I work in this, what's the experience for me to achieve the goals that I need to achieve for your organization, comes very high priority for them, and comes a high priority for us as part of our talent strategy as well. So I'll talk through that as well. So I'm going to share a few of these, go into a little bit more detail, and share a little story for each one as we go through that. So let me start here on the left, on the customer-focused modernization. So another great quote, and I have no idea who said this. It was only a week or so ago I heard it. But know your customer as well as you know your technology, right? When you bring people into your organization and they're part of maybe the developers, they're the architects in there, how much focus do you truly actually have on getting sure that they actually know the customer that they're building solution for, as well as they know the tech stack that they're building on, right? And even more so, we actually had some customers talk about, especially in areas like health and areas like that, is actually looking for the will and passion about that area, right? You know, a great saying one of the CIOs said is that, you know, we hire on will and skill. I can train the skill, but I can't train the will. So when I find someone who has enough knowledge and passion and a background, I actually don't care if they know the 32 stacks of technology that we need to build on. They're passionate about the customer. They're passionate about, you know, environmental science or health or whatever it needs to be, and I'll train the rest of it, right? So it's having your staff actually have a passion and understanding around the customer and have that customer focus mindset in everything they do in modernization. So it's really around, as I noted here, knowing the value of every project they're working on, the value that delivers externally to the customer. Can your developers, can your architects actually know, and do they understand that value and bring that in? The other part is finding staff who actively seek to go out and find that. You know, we hire very heavily against curiosity. It's a hard thing to measure, but we work hard towards it, and there's smarter people externally that we bring in to help us do that, right? But we look for curiosity because we're looking for engineers on my team who question, right? Who are curious to find out why and how, and they become curious about the customers, right? There's nothing more I find passionate about, and this actually happened just before Christmas. We actually had one of our new architects, and we were actually going out to see a large insurance organisation, but this insurance organisation specialised in certain areas, wasn't your general sort of normal insurance company. And the day before, the architect sat down and went through, oh, by the way, here are the publicly listed priorities from the CEO on their last agenda call for their staff meeting or their, share investor meeting. And it was because this person was generally interested about this industry and the fascinating things that they were doing and came in with that mindset of understanding the underlying language. So finding that curiosity to go seek that's really important. The other part in here, and I've put in brackets, is diversity in hiring is absolutely key in here. I'll explain why. I'm not an expert on diversity hiring concepts. We focus very heavily on it inside VMware. We have a strong diversity in here. But we drive it by one simple measurement, right? We build solutions for all of our customers outside. All of our customers outside are a diverse group of people. So until we are a diverse group of people, there is no way we can truly understand our customer and deliver the outcome that they need. So our goal is simple. We have to make the inside of our organisation look as close as possible to the outside customers that we serve, right? And you balance that with the curiosity and passion and interest for the industries, then you actually become better at what you're doing. You help modernise, you help get better results for your customers. And to be honest, it just makes it a better working environment with different views to the world that comes into that as well. And let's be honest, in purely tech roles, it is actually not an easy job to do, right? There is a smaller pool of market still at today of people across different, whether especially when you look at things, gender diversity and areas in that. It is improving significantly. So instead of driving quotas and concepts around there, we've re-looked, and so have many of our customers, of hiring practices. We have these hire ahead programs that anyone in my staff who actually find an amazingly talented female engineer has the authority to offer them a job on the spot without coming back to me for approval, even if we don't have a headcount. We'll go find a job for them, right? So there's all these little things. We've changed the way that we write job descriptions. We've changed to do things. So we're bringing in that diversity of view, and it has actually quite dramatically changed the way we question our customers when we work on projects then for modernisation and moving forward as well. So a really important part there. And the last one on customer-focused modernisation is, I think most of you probably know this, is really around the execs who aren't in IT, their sponsorship on the projects, right? Because people outside of your IT, the executives or business partners that you're working with, they're the ones who are requesting capabilities to deliver to customers, right? They should truly be intimate in the go-to-market strategy and the needs of the customers, and making sure they hold all of us and our customers accountable through the whole journey is one of the key things that helps make that successful as well. So just on a little sort of very quick story on there as well, if we look at the telco market, and we've done a lot of work with some of the large telcos around the regions, and especially on the transformation into the 5G space. And just understanding your customer intimacy, we had a really interesting one with a large telco who's rolling out 5G, and we know the customer value. It's quick, it's fast, it's cool, it's all that sort of stuff. But what they actually realized is that they actually are not 100% sure on all the capabilities and value that they can deliver their customers in the future on 5G today, right? So they're going to invent and figure those things out over the next number of years. So their focus was on modernisation with the customer in mind, which they didn't know the outcome was going to look like as yet. So you step that back at starting to look at solve problems that you don't know exist yet. But the theory on what they're trying to build is let's make this simple. Let's make sure that we create the flexibility in the modernisation of what we do to ensure that we can rapidly adapt to whatever comes up in the future. So one of the founding principles of their entire 5G network rollout was to actually turn that into software-defined capabilities out at the towers instead of physical hardware that it had traditionally always been. It's all containerized and Kubernetes-led. So in the future, if a mining company out of the middle of Whoop Whoop turns around and says, we want to have this edge capability into our organization, they can simply do on-the-fly updates, bring in that new capability and deliver it to the customer, irrelevant of what it is, even if they don't know what that is today. So that was that organization really looking at not what we're doing today, but potentially what we think our customers will do in the future and get them there as well. Mastering cloud economics is one of the ones I touched on before. And really, we know that the key sort of 101s around cloud economics, and we break it down to what are the principles of the cloud, the elasticity, the scalability, all those sort of things, the cost benefits and all that area in there as well. So here's some of the lessons we're learning from our customers. One, I'd summarize it down into a constant conversation around volume versus value, right? And what do I mean by that? Very simple. The amount of projects 2 years ago about modernizing and moving clouds to the apps, and we've all heard of the 5 Rs, the 6 Rs, the 7 Rs, the 11 Rs, whatever they are today, right? Refactor, rehost, retire, blah, blah, blah. They're all good. But what we were hearing is these projects, I'm going to do 100 apps in 100 days. That's our project. Or I'm going to do 50 apps in 50 days, or whatever was the cool buzz thing internally, right? And what we actually found that shifted to is, I'm going to do 2 apps in 100 days, but they're going to be the right 2, right? It's around, let's take the fundamentals of cloud economics, layer that into the applications we have inside our organization, understand and can we measure the value of those economics against those applications and the capabilities that we'll bring by moving to the cloud, and are they the most important to do, right? So it is that change from that volume to value view around the applications, and it's not just the scale of how many they move across. And we actually see the wording change from this cloud first, and I think most of you have probably shifted in this as well. We very rarely hear a CIO refer to cloud first, because it's actually cloud smart. Cloud is not the right answer for everything when you lay cloud economics over the top of it. And by the way, if you've just signed up 2 years ago on a 5-year data center contract and you've got millions of dollars of equipment in there, you want to make sure you get the most out of that tech debt as well, right? So there is a balance in there to shift from that cloud first to a cloud smart strategy and start thinking some of these areas through as well. Always keeping in mind, and I've just keyed some of the main points in there around the value proposition of the cloud, and do we look at that at every decision that we're making as we go through these organizations as well. The last point I want to touch on this is around not just the economics of cloud, but are we sitting and looking at this and the customers are saying, what is actually the net new revenue opportunity we can go after, right? Because we're doing something different on the cloud now. And a lot of companies and all organizations haven't taken that into the consideration. And we're seeing companies like retail actually do some really amazing things around actually measuring the value of how their point of sale staff, what they call their frontline workers, are actually experiencing in scale up and scale busy times through Christmas and through late night shopping on Thursday nights and all those sort of things, and actually measuring the experience that they're having and coming back and delivering different capabilities to them based on the situation and timing and the seasonal capacities that they're having as well. So looking for those new revenue opportunities and truly being able to measure that value as well. The last part that I'll step through quickly as well is the consistent experience. So what am I talking about, consistency experience? I love this quote here. Make the developer experience the cornerstone of your talent strategy. As I touched on before, if you can create the environment that allows the developers to be innovate, move with speed, to be honest, they want to work with cool stuff, right? And give them that capability inside the environment, you will retain and keep those staff a lot longer than normal, right? I could probably, and I won't take the time doing it, I could ask for a show of hands who finds it really easy to go find technical talent, hire them, bring them and keep them in the organization. I don't think I've ever seen a hand go up. And if I ever do, I'm going to put this down, get them up on the stage and let them take over and tell us how they did it, right? Because it is an extremely difficult thing to do. So one of the cornerstones of that is actually creating an environment inside that we hear from our customers that delivers a consistent operational environment across the cloud platforms that they're working on to allow them to actually be able to experiment, move fast, and take advantage of everything out there, but not be locked down into one concept. I jokingly had a conversation with a CTO from an energy company recently. He said, we've gone with a one cloud strategy. We've gone all in on XYZ hyperscaler. He said, on the side, nothing related to it. By the way, we've got 4 different development teams. One's Azure, and one's a AWS, and one's an Oracle development team, right? And he was being joking, like they have a one cloud strategy, and they ended up with four key cloud platforms to develop on inside their environment. That's the way of the world, right? But consistency around that is extremely difficult. So he has a cultural issue about us and them inside his own team, right? So finding out a way to build consistency across all those platforms to allow them to work together and make a decision on the right platform and the right technology at the right time is key for them as well. So that's one of the things they're focused on. I'll wrap up and just go to my last slide, which is completely unrelated to modernization, but something that's very important to all of us at VMware. Is at VMware we have a massive focus on sustainability and trust and equitability across organizations. We've actually put together 30 key things that we want to achieve by 2030, right? And it's all publicly available. And some of these are big, some of these are a little less big and manageable. In every engagement we have with our customers, we like to have the conversation around where can we add value against these with you, or where can our partnership working together can add value against these environmental and social guidelines for us as an organisation together. Is truly something that's really important for us. So I just wanted to highlight that for all you as we're doing these projects and modernising and working together into the future. So thank you very much. I hope you found some of these learnings that we've got from the field valuable for all of you, and I look forward to talking to you. Enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you.